вибачте, трошки рівень гучності не співпав. Якщо вже зійшлося жінки, кохання, то тепер наприкінець треба щось для дітей, про дітей заспівати. Це жарти, а якщо серйозно, то у нас виникає тут пропозиція така. Я тут поїздивши, подивившись по теренам, у мене зроблено зараз дитячий мюзикл, спеціальна такий твір для дітей. І в нас є така пропозиція, можливо, ми її здійснимо, зробити той мюзикл з нашими колективами, до речі, з театром «Дзвін», і показати його тут для дітей, українців у Великій Британії. Один з фрагментиків цього дитячого мюзиклу я хотів би вам показати. Це пісня, яка називається «Країна дітей». Зорі над колосками вже засинають діти, каже їм на добраніч перепел у житах. Місяць повис над ставом, нитку сріблясту в'яже, щоб таємниці неба й землю дітей з'єднать. Мов на узгірці стала сива струнка тополя і подає верхівку місяцю чародію. Та над усім колосся обрії колисає, і на зелених стеблах землю трима свою на добраніч. На добраніч, на добраніч, земля, діти. Наче зерно в колосі, наче у небі зорі, в серці батьків довічно сяє земля дітей. Земле води і хліба, земле добра людського, земле моєї віри, земле моїх надій на добраніч, на добраніч, на добраніч, земля. І, наприклад, на кінець, якщо ми вже підійшли до такої розважальної частини, до дітей, до речі, я хотів би вам показати ще один фрагмент колектива, котрим ми дійсно пишаємося, бо майже нещодавно, 3 тижні тому, той колектив здобув тут, у Великій Британії, дуже сильної перемоги на 6-й Всесвітній клаунській конвенції, що відбувалася в Бобне-Ріджес. Це було зовсім нещодавно. Було запрошено колективи клаунські, пантомайм групс, колективи з 16 країн світу. І, як це кажуть, всі ті кореспонденти різних газет, радіо і таке інше цікавилися, задивлялися, як це може бути, що нова течія клоунського мистецтва йде з Радянського Союзу України. Як це таке може трапитися? Над чим там є сміятися? А я, як кажуть, єдиний, хто там більш-менш щось по-англійськи, як це кажуть, міг відповісти, ми вважаємо за таке, що нація, якщо вона здорова, якщо які б жахливі умови не перебували на тій країні, але якщо люди мають змогу над тим добре посміхнутися і продовжувати жити і робити свою справу, то це нація, це здорова нація. І тому саме те є характеристикою тієї нації, що якщо ми посміхаємося, то ми бажаємо, щоб той сміх став нам на користь. Тоді люди, наші земляки стануть кращими. І зараз я хотів би два фрагменти того колективу, групи, яка називається Мімікрічі. Це, якщо перекласти, це буде The Crying Mimics. Ту групу, що зроблено ті фрагменти на гастролях в Західній Німеччини, де колектив також здобув величезного успіху на протязі 4 місяців. Хочу запропонувати вашій увазі. Будь ласка, відео. Дякую. Шановні друзі, я був би дуже радий, якщо я хоч стисло, але зміг вам показати якийсь такий зріз нашого культурного сьогодення на Україні, те, що роблено, власне, молодими нами, розумієте? І мені було б дуже приємно, аби скоро, дуже скоро оті ваші обласки ви б мали змогу адресувати безпосередньо тим акторам, тим музикантам, тим співакам, котрі ви сьогодні їх бачили. І це було б найкращою нагородою і для мене, і для нас, для наших молодих акторів, для наших молодих культурних сил на Україні. Я прощаюся з вами, але не кажу вам прощавайте, кажу тільки до побачення. Ми на це сподіваємося. Дякую вам за увагу. Тепер я хотів би сказати, що якщо у когось є якісь запитання, чи бажання ознайомитися з деякими матеріалами, тут у мене нотні збірки, з десяток різних газет, журналів, в котрих я робив деякі, це моя така, знаєте, хобі, чи що я дещо пишу, маю кількасот статей. Отут поруч з сценою ви маєте змогу дещо ознайомити. Це, пробачте, все, що в мене лишилося. Розумієте, я вже був, зустрічався по теренах тут і в Ноттінгемі, і в Манчестері, і в Лондоні. Деякі, якщо хтось бажає, я до ваших послуг. Добре? То дякую ще раз.
Шановні пані і панове, ніж ми всі розійдемось, я вважаю, що ту коротку програму, яку ми сьогодні побачили, очевидно, було дуже цікаво для нас, бо я вважаю, що більшість в нас фактично навіть не знали, що є аж такий великий розділ, не фактично розділ, є таке велике проміння думок, що діючи з культурної сторінки на Україні, є багато нового, що, може, ми раніше не чули чи не бачили. І з тієї причини я хочу подякувати нашої гостеві від нас усіх, що дав нам змогу. Дякую. Що дав нам змогу побачити ці уривки, і я вважаю, що ми ще багато більш цікавого і нового будемо бачити незадовго. Щиро вам дякую і всім бажаю доброї ночі. Дякую.
Come. 800,000 children, it's said today, are displaying the early symptoms of leukemia, and 200,000 people, again today's news, are to be evacuated from the most radioactive regions. But it's been estimated that 4 million people are living in areas with dangerously high levels of contamination. Lesia Jakivska is just back from a visit to Kiev, where she saw firsthand the lingering effects of the disaster. And in this new book, it's called The Legacy of Chernobyl, Zhores Medvedev exposes the Soviet cover-up of the real and lasting damage that's been done. Joris, it's strange, isn't it? In this country, because it happened in somebody else's backyard, we've almost put it from our mind. What is the legacy in human suffering now in Chernobyl?
No, the legacy in human suffering is that most of the effect of radiation is so-called late effect. It developed in time. With years, it became more and more evident. With other things, we expect that things will eventually decline and disappear. With radiation effect, it's the other way around. The health effect is actually getting worse and more evident with years and years to come.
It's a great shame, isn't it, that there wasn't the openness that there is now 4 years ago about the disaster, because there was a lot of cover-up, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's right. And if it be openness from the very beginning, all these children who suffer now from thyroid problems, hormonal and other, could be saved, because very simple iodine tablets could help hundreds of thousands children and people if it be immediately applied. But the attempts to cover up of the disaster made impossible to use very simple preventive measures.
And are you suggesting also that the people were not aware of the dangers anyway outside a certain area when they were in danger and they weren't told about it so much?
No, even the government didn't know that the areas as far as 300-400 kilometers from the Chernobyl actually suffered very heavy contamination of their land. So these spots were discovered much later. It's due to the inefficiency of the monitoring systems.
Lesia, you're just back from Kiev, as I said. Is there anything to see? I mean, are there hospitals full of suffering children or what?
Yes, well, I went out from the Association of Ukrainian Women and we delivered medical goods, and when I was in Kiev I had the opportunity of visiting various hospitals. A couple of the hospitals I visited, one was the Radiological Institute, and in this institute they were monitoring children. The children were just coming in for diagnosis, and the children there were very sick indeed. They had already developed various leukemias, as Zora said, various lymphatic gland tumours had been developed. And the great tragedy with those children was because very basic medical equipment is not available, things like disposable syringes to take blood tests, these children couldn't be diagnosed, let alone being given any treatment to prevent these illnesses.
Are they just unfortunate, or could something have been done had the system been rather more efficient and more caring at the time between now and when the accident took place?
I think with something like leukemia, that's something that's very, very difficult to treat anyway. But with a few of the professors and doctors that we met, they very much feel that if they had the correct diagnostic equipment in their hospitals available with all the very basic items, as I mentioned, the disposable syringes, that they could take preventative measures.
We hear today of 800,000 children at risk. I mean, what is the size of it? Can you grasp the kind of extent of the damage?
It's well, in Ukraine, the Ukrainian Movement for Reconstruction Ruch, their unofficial estimate is 2.5 million children affected in Ukraine alone. So the figures are growing by the day. I was told in Ukraine as well that there are still 1.4 million people living in contaminated regions. I think when you see the children yourself, and I met a little boy who probably is dead now because he'd contacted leukemia and there was no treatment available for him.
And he was the one you were telling me about who went back to see his granny, is that right?
That's right, it's very unfortunate, and because people had very little information about where the contaminated zones were, and they still have this great fear, they still don't know what, they have very little access to information. He used to go and visit his granny every summer. In fact, he and his family didn't live in a contaminated zone, but he insisted on visiting his granny every summer and would play out with her in the countryside. And she lived in a contaminated zone, and he became ill only last summer.
Well, when people travel around, that must have happened more than once, more than that
Presumably.
occasion.
But as I think you mentioned earlier, it's only now that people are beginning to open up in the Soviet Union, in Ukraine, and talking about this more and more, and we're uncovering more and more of this kind of information.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, that I remember at the time, we were doing programs on the whole disaster, of course, and the Russians were saying, oh, we've got a few problems, and that you've got photographs in your book of the smoke being airbrushed off the photographs of the factory, of the plant. And they refused a lot of help because they said, we can contain this. I mean, that's a tragedy now, isn't it?
No, this is tragedy, but this is a part of cover-up the system used to have.
Yeah.
And they always were convinced that they be able to cover up the story. As you know, the Ural nuclear disaster, which happened in 1957, was covered up for 32 years before it actually was officially acknowledged, and it was a huge area of 23,000 square kilometers, half of Holland was contaminated.
Yeah.
So the government expected that it'd be possible to cover up, and Minister of Health and many high officials in medical services, they tried to convince the government that it will be possible. They will cover up with general statistics. They will find fewer cases they could be expected, but apparently it didn't happen.
That
And
sounds
Minister
so
of Health,
stupid. I mean, when contamination is struck, it's struck, isn't it? I mean, there it is. You can't sort of, you can't put it in a bottle and say it doesn't exist.
yes, but you have in the government people who are, or in the governmental commission who deal with this disaster, people who are actually ignorant, incompetent, and Minister of Health didn't tell them actually what they would expect eventually. So Minister of Health just 2 weeks ago was dismissed for this particular reason, because he was not giving the government right advice.
Did you think that they were being told the truth now?
I think there's still a lot more of the truth to come out.
Do you?
Yes, I think the government is beginning to start producing statistics, but people still don't believe them because they've had 70 years of misinformation. So it's going to take a very long time before anyone believes the government statistics.
Well, we talk about statistics. They said 16 billion rubles at one stage. Now they're talking about 250 billion rubles needed to cleanse the place. In a word, is that the sort of size of the problem financially?
Yeah, this is the size of the problem. And even in America, where they want to clear the effect of plutonium production, it's the same amount of money.
We have to stop there. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this edition of the programme, but be sure and join me the same time, same channel tomorrow. Until then, goodbye to you.